Hey folks, Why Would You Ask That is a podcast that answers some of the weirdest questions. A lot of those are inappropriate for some listeners. If you're squeamish, easily disturbed, or just having a bad day, this may not be for you. But if you've got to know the answers like we do, stay tuned.
Gotta remember how I open it.
Hey, all you cool cats and kittens. It's Carol Baskin.
No, it's not! Why would you ask that? Presented by me, M.
And Karen. I'm so used to you saying the they, them. I just...
Oh, I forgot! Yeah, I'm they, them. I forgot my own pronouns. I am what? What's that?
Yes. Their gender is alligator.
And gender is what? What'd she say? And Remy.
Him.
Thanks, Remy.
Today we wonder, no, you don't know, I'm telling you right now, how cold does it have to be for our breath to freeze? And not like, a mist like you usually do, or is it a mist? What's the qualifying thing to freeze? What would you call a freeze? Like freeze and then like crystallize? Like actually crystallize and not just like fog up?
I think that the point of freezing is when it becomes a solid, because otherwise it's a gas/liquid.
Yeah, we're quantifying it as not when you normally see like the misty stuff come out of your mouth when it's like 32 degrees outside, but when it becomes a sort of solidy state, like crystallizes in some form.
I've had that happen before.
Your breath crystallized?
Yes, it would freeze on our faces and on our scarves.
I mean, I've had like my boogers freeze.
I meant like when we breathed out, it was on like in crystals on our stuff.
Wow, that's friggin' cold.
It was a little bit chilly, yes.
It was a little bit chilly.
This is a little bit.
So, that's not even what I'm talking about, because what happened to you was like when you breathe into your hands and you feel your hands get wet, what happened to you was you breathed out and then the water vapor in your breath just like got on your skin and then turned to water and then froze. And I'm talking about when you breathe out and then the stuff that's just out in the air off your skin, out in the air, floating in front of you, when that turns to crystal.
Oh shit.
Not when it has a chance to touch anything and turn to water and then turn to crystal. When the water that's still in the air turns to crystal.
Well, fuck me sideways.
That's cold.
That's what he wants to know. When can that, like, instantly turn into ice? How cold does it have to be? He is my husband. My husband asked this question.
Ah!
We should probably be saying that. Who asked this question? Was it me? Was it you? Was it your husband? Was it your wife?
Usually it's one of us.
Yeah, until the listeners start sending us questions, I haven't bothered to say who is asking the question, because it's one of us.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Also true. I have so many questions.
Yes, it is mostly him. So, you would think it would be easy to answer this question, but I had to go to page 5 of Google to find the actual number.
Whoa.
At which point your breath freezes.
So?
Oh my god.
What's
5 pages into Google is a lot, because I kept coming across Reddit. People on Reddit kept coming up with numbers, and Reddit is not a source. It's not an appropriate source. Not unless I'm in the science part of Reddit, and they are linking me to a source.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't happening. I was in, like, the funny part of Reddit when they were showing comics to me, and the comic was making a joke about your breath freezing, and I was like, no, that's not a source. Or I was on, like, forums. I kept coming across, like, forums for joggers and exercisers and stuff that were like, is my lungs going to freeze if I go out in the cold? What temperature is it going to be for my lungs to freeze? And I was like, that's not a thing I'm asking.
Can
Google.
your lungs freeze? is that a thing that you have to worry about? Your lungs freezing because the air is so cold? Because I thought there was like this whole thing about warming warming air. Because if you warm water inside of your body, you're nothing more than a Keurig. But anyway, like I thought there was a whole system to warm up air as you're.
Yeah, to answer that question, because I did read some of that also today in the pursuit of this knowledge. Your lungs are not ever going to freeze at any temperatures you have to worry about, because your like passages and stuff going to your lungs is going to warm the air as it goes down there. Now, at the temperatures where your breath is going to freeze and the water coming out of your mouth and onto your scarf is going to freeze, you will feel your lungs get cold, but it's because all of your like bronchioles and stuff in there are like tightening and constricting in the cold, but they're not freezing. Everything's just constricting in there because it's so cold.
That's why it makes it harder for asthmatics like me.
Yes.
Oh, oof, ouch. Like, oh God, not again.
People with lung conditions have a harder time in cold weather because of stuff like that. So Google kept thinking I was asking those kinds of questions, so it took me 5 pages and a lot of research to find out that the answer to my husband's question is that your breath will freeze in the air in front of you at about negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit or negative 62 degrees Celsius.
Honestly, that's a lot colder than I thought.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What did you think?
I was thinking like the negative 50s.
Mm.
Because I've been outside in the negative 30s, and obviously that wasn't the case, so.
There are more places in the world that get down to the negative 50s than you would think. And the places that I was thinking where people lived, that it got cold enough for your breath to freeze, because I thought, I'm going to look into places where people live that get this cold so that we can talk about it. And then I immediately thought that I was going to look into Svalbard, which is an island close to the North Pole. A lot of researchers live there, and it's a very small population, and it's super cold. It's one of those places where it's constantly dark for part of the year, and I thought, surely they've got to get this cold up there. It doesn't. It does not get that cold up there. They only drop down to the negative 50s and 60s. So I was like, well, okay. So that's not right. I had to go further north.
Wow.
Yeah.
Siberia.
Yeah, Siberia. I had to go up to Siberia. But there are people who live at those temperatures, and way more people than I thought lived at those temperatures.
People will live fucking anywhere, though, to be fair.
It's true.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say unless it's actively killing them, but people will live in a burning house if they are able.
I mean, people live next to volcanoes all the time. We've been doing it for thousands of years.
It's true. I've actually got a story further down of people choosing to live in temperatures that should have killed them.
How? How and why?
I'll tell you when we get there. So, for your breath to fully freeze would mean that the carbon dioxide in your air would also need to freeze, and that's not going to happen until about negative 109 degrees Fahrenheit, I found. Much easier than I found the other answer. And the carbon dioxide would need to pressurize and then freeze at that temperature and then be able to expand back out into ice, because that's how it freezes. And then it makes dry ice. So for your entire breath to freeze into a solid chunk of ice, you would have to breathe out dry ice.
Christ. Jesus Christ!
What? Oh my god. Ice?
Yeah, you'd be breathing out dry ice if you could go outside at negative 109 degrees Fahrenheit and be able to sustain yourself in those temperatures for any amount of time, because you can't uncover your face to breathe out there for any amount of time. At like negative 60 degrees or so, you can get frostbite in like 3 minutes on exposed skin. So you can't go out there and uncover your face at negative 109 degrees Fahrenheit so that you can test this. You just can't do it. Your face is gonna like shatter off of your body.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what if I only breathe out for like, what if I have a little tube? Well, can I breathe out through a little tube, or is that tube gonna freeze to my fucking face? You'd have to come up with a whole ass contraption.
You'd have to invent something. So if you could go out there at that temperature and manage to not die of exposure, you could manage probably to breathe out dry ice for like a second. But then if the temperature didn't kill you, the dry ice would kill you because it would exit your lips and then it would like destroy your mouth because dry ice will cause you to get frostbite by touching it.
Oh, I didn't know that shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know anything about dry ice.
Oh.
Only wet ice.
Yes, I used dry ice in a science experiment. So the same chemistry teacher that did the Coke and Mentos experiment with me also procured me some dry ice so that I could do some dry ice experiments for a science project.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, she was very cool.
That's a good teacher.
Yeah, she just told me I had to wear gloves and not to touch it with my skin. So I did touch it with my skin, though. Because kids are stupid.
Yeah.
Like I said with the internet trends video, kids are stupid. She told me not to do it, and I did do it.
You did do it.
How did it feel?
Really super cold.
To the point where it burned?
Yeah, it's cold enough to burn.
Wow.
But you have to touch it for longer than a second to get the frostbite, so I like tapped it and took my finger back off of it.
And then it stuck to your finger and you went,
Ah! And then your like whole body got consumed by ice like in Midas. Like the Midas tail.
The Midas touch.
Yeah, the Midas touch.
I'm on a roll, y'all.
Yeah, this is gonna be a joke heavy night. I feel it. If you could breathe out dry ice, I think it would give your lips frostbite for it to, because it would be in contact with your mouth, I think, for too long to be able to come out of you. And then if that didn't do it, you would be then surrounded by the dry ice vapors, and that would suffocate you.
Wait, it has vapors too?
Yeah, those dry ice vapors that come off of it. So you know, like when you're at like a high school dance and they put the dry ice out to make all those vapors, you know, or they used to. I don't think they do that anymore. Or in the haunted houses, they use dry ice to make the vapors, and now they use smoke machines and stuff, but they used to do it with dry ice. But
bro, smoke machines taste excellent.
That, you know, I've tasted the smoke from a smoke machine, and I would have to disagree. But to each their own.
I like it.
We know that they have just the worst taste buds. But my husband agreed that coins taste good, so
yes.
Oh man,
validation is excellent.
Someone out there is like nodding while Em is like, smoke machines taste good, and someone out there was like, yeah, someone gets it.
yeah.
Finally, my people.
Yeah. The unnamed masses.
So yeah, dry ice makes the vapors and it creeps along the ground. Those vapors are just the carbon dioxide coming back off of the ice. And obviously, if you breathe too much of the carbon dioxide back in, it's suffocating to you because you're not supposed to breathe concentrated carbon dioxide. It's bad for humans. And so if you are in a confined space, for example, with it, like people have died from dry ice fumes, like if they're carrying it in a cooler somewhere in a car and the lid comes off and all the fumes come out in the car. There's been some instances where people have died from the fumes coming off of the dry ice. So if you like could breathe out dry ice and then all the fumes like puff back up around you immediately, you would just die if you couldn't get away from it quick enough.
Damn.
Holy shit.
So that's what I learned today.
I love it. I mean, I like not the dying part, but like it's fascinating. I'm not a fan of dying.
No, I would have to say.
Not unless it's in like in a cool way, and then you get into like the Darwin Awards, and well, I wouldn't say it's cool necessarily, but like there are some interesting deaths out there, and I hope to confuse somebody one day. But you know,
I went to a bad school. At the school that I went to, we had a teacher who, during our free period that was in between classes, like right after lunch, we would have like a 15-minute free period before we went to our next class, and we had a teacher who would read to us out of the Darwin Awards books.
Ooh. You had some good teachers.
I mean, they're great books, but you just shouldn't probably read to a bunch of like 13 and 14-year-olds about people dying.
Yeah, maybe.
I learned a lot of things not to do. Like, I was that age. I was just like, oh my god, don't look into the barrel of a gun. Wow, what do you mean you shouldn't use a lighter for that?
Now, some people are gonna take the message to heart, and some people are gonna hear these things and think, this is a new challenge I can start.
Oh gosh, new internet trend. Y'all don't be doing that shit. Darwin Award is not supposed to be inspiration. That is not TikTok views. That is just, well, died.
So while I was researching this, I decided to look into, and I asked my husband if I could talk about this for the rest of the episode, about people who choose to live in these coldest places on Earth where temperatures get to negative 80 degrees Fahrenheit, because there are places on Earth that get that cold where people willingly choose to live full-time all year round. So I thought we could talk about that.
Please.
Okay, so I'm excluding places like Eureka, which is in the top part of Canada, because that's a research station, and nobody lives there full-time. Like, there are people there full-time, but people don't make it their full-time home. The researchers that live there circulate out, so nobody is living there on a permanent basis. I'm excluding those kinds of places. I'm only picking out, for right now, cities that are actual cities that people like have stores and schools, and they actually live there like an actual city, like an actual place that people have made a home. Those were my qualifications. So first, the coldest place on Earth with the lowest recorded temperature in the Northern Hemisphere in the Guinness Book of World Records. The coldest place humans have set up a permanent village is called Oymyakon, and it's in the Sakha Republic in eastern Russia, Siberia. Different articles called it different, Russia or Siberia, so it wasn't clear which area it was in. It's named after a local hot springs that the locals like to enjoy after they break the ice off of the top of it. The lowest temperature that they have recorded there was right at negative 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
What?
Negative 90 degrees Fahrenheit.
Good God. Ow. That's a little brisk.
It's just a little. Negative 90.
I can't even stand regular 90. Like, negative 90?
Yeah, I get cold when the temperature gets into the 40s.
Yeah. Like, oof. No. How do they, like, why are they up there?
So the people who live up there, there's about 500 people who live up there. And you can go visit up there, actually. They have a tourism thing going on. You can, like, book a trip and go up there if you want to. They installed a giant thermometer to try to draw in some tourists to look at it, and that broke when it was negative 80 degrees outside.
Oh, Jesus.
It got too cold for the giant thermometer.
Oh my God. Imagine being so cold.
Your thermometer breaks?
Yeah.
They don't record temperatures above freezing between October and March.
Wow.
And their days are as short as 3 hours. So the 500 people that live there, it's largely inhabited by the indigenous peoples of that area called the Yakut. Those people live there. So that's why they live there. It's because they're indigenous to the area.
Okay. What are they like?
I started following somebody this weekend, actually, before I even actually looked into the question. I started following a Yakut creator on TikTok. Her name is Verona.Petrova, and she talks about her culture, the Yakut culture from up in this area. So I thought it was really weird, cool coincidence that now I was having to research the area and the Yakut people, and also how to say the word and the name of their city while I was doing this question. So they used to be nomadic, and I think maybe some of them still are, but largely they used to be a nomadic people, like a reindeer herding people. They have like a really cool fashion. They have this like really extensive, amazing metalworking, and like they're really known for their jewelry. They have the like metal headband, and it goes down the sides of their face. You've probably seen it before. They're really known for their like silver and diamonds and stuff that they wear.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're like.
The diamonds?
Yeah, they have a lot of stuff like that up there. Let me get you a picture.
Yeah.
I'm like Googling Yakut.
Yakut.
Like yak.
Oh, that's very neat.
Oh, that's so
That's
cool. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, they're Turkic people, so they're just really known for their jewelry and metalworking. I think is the thing that they're most widely known for.
It's probably what keeps them warm.
Yeah, the forge.
I think it's the reindeer that keep them warm.
I was gonna say if you were about to tell me that they work in like cold fire or some shit.
What?
I don't know.
Look at the reindeer.
What a lovely child.
I think everybody has probably seen pictures from Oymyakon because people back in the 70s, a photographer went up there and like lived up there for a little while and took pictures, and his pictures were like really famous. It's the ones where all the houses are covered in snow and the trees are all covered in snow.
Oh.
I think a lot of people have seen those pictures. They circulate on the internet every now and again. Let me pull up this picture. Boop.
I've never seen this picture. This house is just like snow with, suggestion of a house underneath it.
It's like, it makes me think of a gingerbread house
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
where like the joints are snow. The thing holding the house together is the ice. Oh my god.
A picture of ice zombies? What the hell is this?
The frozen north.
What the fuck am I looking at? Is that people?
It's a guy in the snow.
Just a few guys enjoying the snow, absolutely fucking frozen over.
This is a statue. There's gotta be a statue. No one could be out in that cold. In negative 90-degree weather. That's amazing.
Yeah, the temperatures up there are about the average temperatures as it is on Mars.
Jesus fucking Christ!
That's what I learned while doing this research.
I mean, infrastructure must be hell up there.
Yeah, so when I was looking up who lives up there, which is the Yakut people, I came to this photographer who went and lived up there in the 70s with them for a little while. Because first I came to the photographer's page while I was still looking for the answer to how cold it needed to be for your breath to freeze. Because when he went to live with the Yakut, he learned that they have a word for the sound your breath makes when it freezes.
What?
It makes a sound?
Yeah, so the Yakut people have a word for the sound your breath makes when it freezes, and the word translates to the whisper of the stars.
Oh my god, that's so
that's
cool.
so romantic.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah, it's super cool. His photography exhibit is called that also.
Whisper of the Stars?
Yes.
Yeah. That's really cool. Yeah.
Apparently, your breath when it freezes sounds like rice being poured.
Whoa. Oh my gosh. That's crazy. I love it. I mean, it sounds scary, but also like super cool.
Yeah. You have to live in a place that gets that cold to have a word.
Yeah.
So I looked into what it was like to live there because I can't imagine. I can't imagine living somewhere that gets that cold. And it's super isolated, as you can imagine. There's one grocery store for the whole 500 of them. One grocery store is probably fine, but they don't have a lot of groceries. There's nothing really grows up there. So they subsist mainly off of a meat diet of reindeer, horse, and Arctic fish.
Wait, they eat horse?
Yes, don't judge them.
No. I was trying to make sure. I was like just verifying what I heard.
Yeah, so they have a particular breed of horse that's like a tiny little short, fat little horse that they breed for the eating.
Okay. So that was really it. Like, when I think of a horse, I do not think of meat, which is weird because they're made of meat. And also, like, the way that we've talked about Reese and how you see, like, the cutout, like, from the butcher shop.
Oh my gosh, they are so round and meaty.
They're so
These horses are like barrels with hair on them.
I love it!
Yeah, they're very tiny. They're probably like 5.5 feet tall, maybe.
Wow.
Oh, they're taller than me still.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they have a lot more meat than a regular horse has. Okay. They're so cute.
Yeah, the ones that they ride are bigger and like the ones that they ride I think are bigger but still stocky. Like, you know, have you seen the Norwegian horses? The ones that they ride in cold countries are stockier and like chunkier anyway. So that's how they live up there. They subsist on the reindeer and the little fat horses and the Arctic fish. And so they also don't close their single school at all unless it gets below -60.
No snow days.
It said that the article I was reading said that it had to be below -60, and then they got 1 day.
1 day.
It said they would close for 1 day unless I guess it was persistently below -60 or there was like a storm. And like here, if there's a dusting of snow, the schools will close down.
Huh. Wow.
And their architecture and infrastructure is obviously going to be difficult because you can't dig into the ground because the ground is permanently frozen. They don't have any pipes up there where they're at. It's hard to lay pipes because the pipes freeze and they can't dig into the ground well. So they have opted not to lay pipes down. So they all mostly have outdoor toilets. Can you think about the struggle you would have to go through at 3 a.m. when you want to pee?
That is, wow. I could not imagine. I mean, if it's, I guess that the bathrooms have to be heated too.
Maybe. I'm picturing like an outhouse though.
Yeah, because, well, if it's an outhouse, I would be afraid that my pee would freeze on the way out.
You know, that's fair.
Sorry, it just got very quiet, but I feel like that's not an unsubstantiated fear, right?
No, you're correct. Like, I thought about it, and then I thought about what it might feel like to have urine freeze coming out of the urethra, and I was also wondering if they had a name like that. Like, I don't know. Whisper of the...
No.
Oh no, okay. Remy just sent us a picture and it's literally just like an, oh no!
It's just an A-frame with a door. Oh my god.
Are their urethras okay?
I mean, I guess that, you know, it's probably warm enough that it doesn't freeze until it hits the ground.
I don't know their pee.
I mean, I just know pee. Pee is usually warm.
God.
I don't know,
somebody...
man. If anybody pisses cold, I'd be worried about them.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody underneath this picture in the comment section, because this was off of Reddit, somebody in the comment section lives in Yakutsk, which is the capital city of the Sakha Republic, which is where Omiakin is. Sorry, this place. I forgot the name of the city. It gets almost as cold there, and they said that their outdoor toilets don't smell and also are not heated.
God. Well, all the smell would freeze before it had an opportunity.
I think you're making a joke, but legitimately that's what happens.
It wasn't a joke. Like,
What?
Well, I mean, smell is made up of particles and stuff that manage to get in the air, but if it's frozen, it's...
Yeah. Wow. So cold that smell gives up.
Yes.
So other than Omoyakin, there's another bigger, also super cold place that people live. It's called Verkhoyansk, and it's also in Russia. It's in a competition with the other city for the coldest inhabited place on Earth. They sort of go back and forth. It has 1,300 people in it. It's way deep in the Siberian wilderness. It's 1,500 miles south from the North Pole.
Mm.
It's got a really cool history. It was founded in 1638 as a fort, and then it was used for cattle breeding and tin and gold mining. And then they used it to shove their political exiles into in the 1860s up to the early 20th century because it was so cold. So, they just put them up there to let them die of exposure, which is terrible, but interesting.
Sounds like anti-Australia.
Yeah, anti-Australia, yes.
Sorry. I don't know.
It doesn't get as cold there on average, but it stays below freezing from October through April. And during the coldest months, it averages like between negative 45 to negative 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And its coldest official all-time low was also negative 90.
Negative 90.
Yep.
God.
But because it's so close to the North Pole, it also gets over 100 degrees during the summer.
What?
Yeah, because during the summer, the pole tilts toward the sun, so it gets super hot.
I don't understand.
Yeah, because during the summer, the North Pole tilts toward the sun, so the North Hemisphere gets the summer months, that's how the weather works. Yes. And so, but it's terrible to think about a place getting to almost negative degrees Fahrenheit and then also getting to 100 degrees above freezing.
This is wild.
Yeah, it's a crazy place, yeah, for temperatures. So, unlike in Oymyakon, they have running water, though, but they run the water through the pipes at like a super high temperature to keep it from freezing. So they don't use the water for drinking, I think for like bathing and things. So to have water, they have somebody whose job it is to bring in blocks of ice from the river nearby and just give it to the villagers.
Wow.
And so each house has their own little supply of ice blocks that they keep outside, and when they need water, they bring the blocks inside and melt it.
Huh. Resourceful.
Yep. And then some other just little short facts that I learned was that batteries don't last very long because it's too cold, and that pen ink freezes up there, and that you can't have metal glasses.
Damn.
Metal glass?
Yeah, because the metal will freeze to your face.
Oh my god. Right.
Yeah, and the most interesting thing I learned about that place in comparison to the other one is that in 2011, they're in the Guinness Book of World Records a second time, because in 2011, the village was attacked by 400 wolves.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Bad winter?
Yeah, it was a really bad winter. So in 2011, they got another Guinness World Record for the super pack of wolves, when 400 wolves descended on their little village and attacked them for several days and killed 30 horses over the course of 4 days, and then they had to like hold them off with like roaming packs of hunters from the village until the government could send assistance.
Damn, bro.
Yeah, it got so cold that winter that the wolves' normal prey died because they're above the Arctic Circle a little bit, I guess. So wildlife behaviorist experts said that the super pack formed because the climate was so harsh that they needed to form to like kill bigger prey than usual. And I was like, wow, there's never literally probably going to ever be another city that can say that 400 wolves attacked it.
Yeah, no. No, I can't imagine. Jeez.
Yeah. Like, it's not funny that 400 wolves attacked him, but I was just blown away.
400 wolves is a lot of wolves. Like, was it a coordinated attack?
Of course it was. It's wolves.
Yeah, it was a super pack. They called it a super pack.
A super pack?
So, like, wolves band together in packs of, like, a dozen or two, and then it went from, like, a dozen or two in one pack to 400 in a singular pack at one time.
I mean, how did they all get along? Like, how did they...
They're hungry, bro.
This is a movie.
Yeah, why haven't we had a movie about this town?
Yeah.
And it's a super pack of wolves that attacked it. I will watch it.
The super pack. I mean, wow.
Yeah, I would watch it. I've been watching a lot of movies in different languages besides English recently, and I was just thinking that maybe they haven't made it because they would want to make it in Russian, so maybe there's a Russian movie out there somewhere, or Siberian. Maybe it's just a language that's not English, so maybe that's why I haven't seen it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I will watch it. I will watch it not in English.
Mm-hmm.
But we can go outside of Russia now, because it's like, of course, there's going to be really cold places in Russia, but let's look outside of Russia now, and we can look at the coldest Canadian city.
Oh.
Which is? What's the winner?
Well, the official coldest Canadian city that's in the record books is Snag.
Snag.
Snag, Canada, which is in the Yukon, has the lowest recorded temperature of negative 81 degrees Fahrenheit. I translated it out of Celsius because I looked at our stats and most of our listeners are in the US. But that's just one day, so instead I went and made a concentrated effort to look at the average extreme weather temperatures over the entirety of Canada to actually find the actual coldest city in Canada, excluding Eureka and Alert, which are the two research stations that are at the top part of Canada. So the actual inhabited city that's inhabited all the time in Canada, that's the actual coldest city, is Winnipeg.
Winnipeg?
Yeah.
Huh.
Winnipeg. Winnipeg has the coldest average temperatures of an inhabited city in Canada. It's a huge city. It's got like 750,000 people in it, generally, like rounding. So I'm not going to talk about like life there. It's a giant city. It has everything that other giant cities have. It's just like any other one. But more than half of its year, its temperatures are below 0 degrees Fahrenheit, or in sub-zero temperatures, and more than half of those days are spent below negative 20. So, yep.
Hot damn.
But if you count in the research stations, Eureka is the coldest city in Canada, which is in Nunavut.
It's in what?
And it gets just as cold as the two Russian cities.
What? Wait, what city?
Eureka.
Oh, Eureka.
Yeah, and its province is Nunavut.
Okay, that's what it was. None of it?
Almost.
Sorry, I was just... Wait, what?
Nunavut. Yeah, almost. It's almost none of it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that's the coldest city in Canada. And then I didn't look at any other cities in Canada because I was having to do a lot of math.
I feel that.
I lived in the rainiest city in Canada.
The rainiest.
Yes.
What is?
What's that?
What, do you have an answer, or were you asking?
Oh, no, I said I lived there.
You lived in the rainiest city in Canada?
Yes. And that's not hyperbole, that it's literally the rainiest city in Canada.
Well, what city is it?
It's Prince Rupert. Yeah. It's south of Alaska. So it's way to the west, and like we had ferries going to Alaska is how close we were. I believe it averages about 235 days a year.
Dang! That's a lot.
It was awful, and I was a delivery man who worked there, and I often had like my own little pool inside of my vehicle.
Oh.
Oof.
It stank, bro. Like I would come home dripping. We would I had 2 waterproof coats that got soaked through. So
Dang.
but
Yep.
never got that kind of cold.
I didn't live in any est place ever.
That's sad.
I didn't sound so sad. I was just like, I just haven't lived in a city that's like the ist of anything.
I haven't lived in an ist of anything either. I was Googling to make sure, but I haven't.
That's not true. You lived in that place where they did the documentary about the crack cocaine.
I did. I did live in a city that was inside of the county where HBO made a documentary about meth.
Yes, meth.
My brain is like, methane!
Methamphetamines.
Not like it's not like I'm happy about it, but I did live there.
Yeah. So
We are the meth capital of Arkansas.
yeah, the methiest city, the methiest county.
That's why I left.
Just thinking about it being the methiest. Look at this
Yeah.
meth.
Bro.
I just did a quick Google to see if when I lived in Phoenix, I lived in one of the hotter places in the U.S., but Phoenix does not count as in the top 10 of the hottest places in the United States, so it doesn't count.
It doesn't?
Nope, it's not in the top 10.
Wow. What's in the top 10?
Las Vegas, Miami, Tucson, Houston, Riverside, California, Dallas, San Antonio, and Orlando.
Yeah, those places are all pretty hot.
Yeah. And of course, Death Valley is the hottest area in the U.S., being a desert and all.
Yep.
Now, it did get up to upwards of 120 degrees in Phoenix this summer that I left that place, so it can get really hot there, but it's not on average the hottest.
Wow. Okay. I didn't know that.
So thinking about it being super duper cold is terrible to me, because I often say that I would go back to Arizona if it meant I didn't have to deal with the humidity that's here where we live right now.
Yeah. Yeah. The humidity is the worst part.
God, I fucking hate it. Soupy. It's soupy outside. I walk outside and I'm like, oh god, I went inside of someone's sinuses.
It does feel like that. It's like soup outside, yes.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
It's like you have to swim to your car when you leave the house.
Mhm.
I mean, what's even the point if I could just, like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I have one more city.
Mhm.
And it's my city for the US. We actually had 3 cities on the coldest places to live in the world, but I picked one. I picked the coldest one in the country. The coldest city in the United States to live in is called Utqiagvik. It was previously called Barrow, Alaska.
Barrow, Alaska.
Yes, but it's not called that anymore. Now it's called Utqiagvik.
Utqiagvik.
That's the Inupiaq name for the city, because in 2016 they changed it back to that name.
Well, cool.
They're the native population of that part of Alaska, so they've reclaimed the name of their city, which is very cool.
Yeah. My friend Christina is from Alaska.
Cody lived in Alaska.
He did?
Yeah.
How long?
I think like a year maybe.
Wow.
I think he
That's
lived in the
rad.
Anchorage area because his dad was on the air base that was near that area.
Hmm. My cousin is a marine biologist, and she
Ooh.
lived in Alaska for a good while. Yeah, she's super cool.
Will she show me dead things?
I mean,
Or just give me facts?
yeah,
Did she work with the whales?
no, she works mostly with like fish. I think she monitors a lot of the like pH on like she's had to live months on a boat. So, yeah, she's super cool. And she lives in Oregon. So, I like want to go see her again. Basically, that whole family is really cool. Her and her sister, they're super rad. I love them.
Man, it sounds like it.
Yeah. Okay, so Alaska.
Yes.
The-
Yeah, the other 2 cities, just for the record, one was in Colorado and the other was in Minnesota.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
So Utqiagvik is the northernmost city in the U.S., 1,300 miles south of the North Pole. The city has about 4,400 people in it. It's built on top of permafrost that's about 1,300 feet deep in places, and it's only reachable by plane or water full-time.
Wow.
Yeah. So the sun sets at the end of November, and then it doesn't come back until the end of January. And I looked, because Cody asked me, he said, so you mean that they have like a twilight, you know? He said, because that's the way that a lot of the rest of Alaska is up to a certain point. The sun will sort of go down and then just like be dim or it'll like come up for part of the day and then go back down, and you'll get like an hour or two of sunlight. And I was like, no, Cody. I looked. I looked it up. They have total darkness.
Faces. Sorry. I don't know why that.
So the temperature doesn't come out of freezing until June. And even after June, it still averages around 36 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cold.
Yes. So it's in a total polar night during the years where the sun is gone. And the article about the city kindly explained to me that no, that's not a twilight state. The sun goes away and it never crests the horizon line again until February.
Damn. Don't like that.
Yeah. And then it said that following that, in May, they will have 80 days where the sun doesn't go down at all.
Wow. That reminds me of when I went to Glacier National Park. We like stayed there for like a week, and I think like the first night I was there, I couldn't get to sleep because it was like midnight before the sun went down.
I wouldn't be able to do that either. I mean, I would now that I work nights.
Yeah.
Now that wouldn't bother me at all. But used to, I wouldn't be able to do that. Yeah. But it sounds really terrible for the sun to never go down at all.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Or for it to never come up.
Yeah, that would I would be really depressed all the time.
I'm already depressed. I don't need help.
Give me the sun or give me death.
Long stretches without the sun can be really bad on depression and anxiety. And the article also said that, but we just know that in general. And life there isn't easy otherwise, besides just that. Like, the cost of living is really high. Food has to be imported because it's hard to grow things there, obviously. And it has to come in by plane or off of a boat, so that's expensive. The article that I was reading informed me that you're going to be spending like $7 on a box of cereal. Like,
what?
Costs like $20 for a bag of just basic dog food, $10 for like a jar of mayonnaise, stuff like that.
Oh my god! Why live there? What are the pros?
Well, just like with Oymyakon, the largest portion of the population of people who live there are Inupiaq, so they're the native people of the area. So they live there because it's their ancestral homeland, and it's expensive because commercialization has made it that way. Capitalism has made it that way.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. So they live there because they still rely on their ancestral stuff for a lot of things. I follow probably on TikTok like 6 different Inupiaq people, and that was before I ever researched this. I've been following them for months. I started following them in the winter because they were showing their like skills with oil rendering. They were rendering like seal blubber for the oil, and they were showing me how to cook with whale blubber and like the different things that they make with it, and then like how to process a skin and stuff like that, and I thought it was really cool, so I started following them. Everybody should be following Indigenous creators if you're on TikTok, because you can see a lot of really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And people who live in really harsh environments like that I will never ever live can show me a lot of really neat things. And so the Inupiaq people who live up there rely on these ancestral skills that have been passed down to survive in months and months and months of extremely cold temperatures and dark, like days and days of darkness. So community is really huge. They help each other and support each other. They hunt and fish as a big part of their life still. They still utilize walrus and whale and seals and things for meat and blubber, which is still, it's okay for them to do it as a native practice. It's not okay for other people to do. And it's because the people on TikTok inform me they might kill one whale, and then the one whale can go for an entire year.
Wow.
It's because whales are enormous. So
yeah. I mean, they're not killing in excess. That's the thing.
Yeah, so, and then they will use all of the pieces of the whale So, like,
Mhm.
they'll use the bones and the blubber and the meat and the skin of it and everything for various things.
And the ambergris.
Yeah, they will use all of it for something. And they render the oils down to use in cooking and things. They still use dog sleds during the snowiest portions to get around. People like snowmobiles now, but they can still use dog sleds to get around. So, yeah, they still just exist up there off of ancestral practices, and they still live up there because they've always been living up there, and they just don't want to leave.
They live there.
Yeah. I mean, it's theirs. So that just really pisses me off about $10 for mayonnaise. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't even want to pay what I am paying for mayonnaise.
Yeah, it's really frustrating thinking about, like, I think about going to the grocery store and I, like, pick up my milk and I'm just like, oh, God, milk. It's $4 for this gallon of milk. That's a lot more than it used to be. And then I think about, like, my friend that I have who lives in Alaska and she pays freaking $15 for a gallon of milk. And I'm like,
Never mind.
never mind.
Yeah, I mean, at that point, jeez.
Yep. For a little while, me and Cody looked into moving to Alaska when we were thinking about where we wanted to move, but it's so expensive to live up there that,
Yes.
yeah. And now if I could get into a school up there, if I could get into like a PhD program up there, or if I could teach at a school up there where somebody was paying me good money to be up there, or I was like, we're actively working towards getting a good paying job, then I would probably consider it. But not that far up.
So you heard it here, folks. If you donate to us, not donate, like if you pay us to do this full time,
Indiegogo to have Remy just move up to Alaska, get out the fuck at it, yo.
Arkansas.
Yeah, that's exactly where we are, and I didn't forget this fact.
I
We'd
know.
really like to not be here. There is one other place on Earth where people live, but not continuously, that's so cold that they literally can't be outside for more than like a minute because the temperatures are even colder than when carbon dioxide freezes.
Wait.
Fuck? So
Oh my God.
you were hiding a place that was even colder from us?
Yes.
Because no one lives there, right?
They live there for part of the year and not continuously. Actually, I think they live there the whole year, but people rotate out.
Right.
So that's the Vostok Research Station in Antarctica. It gets down to negative 128 degrees Fahrenheit.
Goodbye. I'm out of here. No. You don't pay me enough. I'm not going to hell.
Hell is in Norway, and I'm talking about Antarctica.
I'm out of here. Goodbye.
It didn't even make the list as one of the
I'm
coldest places.
going.
Oh my gosh, that is insane. So I guess they have to wear like a spacesuit to go out there.
Yeah, it is the coldest of the Antarctic research stations. There's actually a lot more down there than I even thought that there was, because I'm talking about TikTok a lot this episode, but I follow 2 people who work at Antarctic research stations for part of the year on TikTok. You can find everything on TikTok. I don't have their names because I forgot to look it up, but you can literally search on TikTok Antarctic Research Station and come up with actually a lot of people that stream from down there. And it's really cool because they'll take you outside and show you around Antarctica.
Huh.
And they'll show you around like their living quarters and like what it looks like down there. But not at this one. I've never seen anything from this station. The stations that I follow on there are it's one that starts with an R. That's the one that gets lived at the most because it's one of the warmer ones. This one's the coldest. The others are at temperatures that are closer to the other places that are on this list or even warmer, and are in the British part of Antarctica, because Antarctica is broken up into chunks that are owned by different places. So this station is in the Russian-owned chunk of Antarctica.
The coldest one?
The coldest one.
It would.
Yes.
They're like, oh, it's no problem.
The American stations are out of the Australian-owned part of Antarctica.
We would.
So, at the Vostok station, they also have total darkness for part of the year and total light for the other, because they're at the extreme bottom of the world. So, to get there, you can only come during the warm months, because during the cold months, it's completely and utterly isolated and inaccessible. You can't fly there at all, because the plane can't land because it freezes to the ground pretty instantaneously.
Oh my god.
That's insane.
Yeah.
I love it.
The air, according to the researchers that live there, I read interviews. According to the researchers who are living there, the air is thinner, like when you're on top of a mountain.
Wow. I mean, that does make sense, yeah.
They said that you get something that feels like motion sickness when you first get there, because you are being oxygen deprived.
Oh my god, you're right. Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, you have to acclimate to it. They said that everybody who gets there at first will have like some dizziness. They might have sleep apnea, because sleep apnea is just lack of oxygen while you're sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
Some people throw up a lot. They said that one time they had a researcher get dropped off and then immediately start being violently sick and then immediately have to leave because he had such an extreme reaction that he might have died.
Oh my god.
Oh no.
That sucks. That's like a dream crushed.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
We worked really hard for that.
Yes. And then of course it's remarkably cold. Like I said, you literally cannot expose your skin at all. Because like I said, it's like -60 or something when you can get frostbite within like minutes. And so at -128, like you just freeze into a solid block of ice and shatter. Like,
yeah. Wow.
So you gotta wear layers and layers and layers of clothes. So in the article that I was reading with the interviews in it, the woman was talking about how it takes her about 30 minutes to put on her clothes in the morning. Just to put on her clothes, not to get around. That's literally just putting on her layers of clothing.
I mean, it takes me that long, but for different reasons.
That's just like regular circumstances. Now here's the part where I said that I have a story about people who chose to live somewhere that was actively trying to kill them and that they should not have stayed in.
I'm ready.
In the 1980s, a bunch of geophysicists were down here at the very beginning, the literal beginning of their expedition during the winter part, and a short circuit caused a fire at the diesel power plant that's down there.
Oh boy.
The fire extinguisher didn't work because of the freezing temperatures.
Oh my god.
So they couldn't put out the fire. They couldn't get close to it with the snow because they didn't have any masks to wear for the smoke. So one person died, and then when the fire finally went out, there were 20 other people who were left at the station with no electricity and no heating.
Oh my god.
In those temperatures I just referenced.
So how many people died?
The scientific equipment, the heating batteries, the stove was all dead. So the explorers obtained water from the snow with their snow melter that they had. And then somebody remembered that there was a diesel generator on a nearby drilling rig that was out of service. So somebody put on a bunch of layers and then hiked through the snow in these temperatures when they were already not warm in the first place. And then they dragged this generator back to their living quarters. And then they repaired the generator in those layers in the cold and brought it back to life so that they could restore power to that one area.
Wow.
So they restored the communication back to Moscow. And then they asked them that they would try to come and get them. And they said, no.
What the fuck?
Because it's dangerous to try to land a plane there, for one thing. I'm sure something could have been worked out. Maybe they could have just lowered a ladder or something. I don't know. But they said no. They chose to just stay for the remainder of their expedition.
Okay. I mean, I guess if that's what you choose.
But they still didn't have any power because all they had was this diesel generator.
Uh-huh.
So what they did was they had just this one stove with their diesel generator. So these guys made 5 more stoves out of gas cylinders.
Wow.
Yeah, the temperatures near the stoves got up to around 70 degrees Fahrenheit, which is nice. But the article told me that about 10 feet or so away from the stoves, the temperature dropped back down to around 0.
Oh, is that all?
That's
Is that all? And then outside of that radius by a little bit more, it went back down into the negatives.
wow.
And then they made their own candles out of paraffin and asbestos rope that they just had.
Sure.
That's not safe, but they didn't know that then.
So they lived, all of them but that one guy that initially died.
Whoa.
They just lived for the whole winter down there.
That is the strength and will of people.
People are just fucking wild.
Strength and will of these particular group of 20 Russian men, yes.
Yeah.
People in general are like this, but these particular guys are just like, I don't know if I could be like this.
Yeah, no, yeah. These are some real whew.
So, Antarctica actively tried to kill them, and they said, "Niet." And in exchange, they have found some really super duper amazing things down there. If you didn't know, the kinds of things that they're finding at the Vostok station are really incredible. In exchange for living down there in the absolute harshest of places on the entire planet as far as cold goes, about 20 years ago, they were drilling into the ice and taking core samples, and they discovered a warm subglacial lake the size of Lake Ontario.
Whoa.
The temperatures in the lake are like 50 degrees Fahrenheit.
Whoa.
What the hell?
Yeah, it's under the glacier. You can find videos on YouTube actually about it. There was a video I watched where there were some like little anemones that are white and they glow and they're stuck to the underside of the glacier.
What the hell?
Yeah, so the water is warm, so there's a heat source under there somewhere, and there's a giant, enormous, warm lake just under the glacial shelf in Antarctica, in that area. And then in 2015, around that area, they discovered that the lake, because they didn't think anything lived in it, but they discovered that the lake was absolutely teeming with life.
What?
The lake is full of weird life that was previously undisturbed until they found it. There are thousands of life forms that have been discovered in that subterranean freshwater lake, and most of them are unlike anything that we had ever found anywhere else on Earth.
Oh my god.
So these people that are studying at the absolute coldest place on Earth that people have lived for any length of time are discovering things that have never been discovered on Earth. The majority consists of microbes, crustaceans, tardigrades, and some fish, and I think some little anemones were found there, like I said, just swimming about and just living their lives underneath the glacier in this weird, hot lake in Antarctica. They think it's about 13 million years old, and they're calling it Lake Vostok after the place that it's at.
That's a little bit older than me.
A little bit older. Scientists think that because life has existed here in this weird, hot, freezing, isolated place, that being able to study this, now that we have the technology to study this, that now we might be able to study it and speculate on life on other places like Mars, because the temperatures on Mars's polar caps is similar to the temperatures in this place.
So there could hypothetically be something like this on Mars.
Well, we know we know now for certainty that there was water on Mars.
Right.
And Mars has polar caps. And this weird little discovery and the life that has managed to live in these super, super, super harsh, isolated, cold conditions gives us a lot of hope. And scientists are really hopeful that they might be able to find something similar by studying these things. They might be able to see what kinds of things could live up there. So yeah, I think in exchange for being able to study just some weird 13 million year old life that has never been found anywhere else on Earth, I think I could probably try to manage living somewhere like that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
It's a toss-up. But thanks everybody for listening. We are very excited to take your questions too, because we want to hear them and we want to answer them, and we are so super qualified to answer questions. So what you can do is you could visit our website, which is whywouldyouskthat.com, and go to that little contact form, throw in a question, or you can email us at whywouldyouskthatpod@gmail.com. So please send us your questions. We don't care how weird it is, how gross it is. Just don't ask any personal questions. That's our one line. Ask your weird questions. That's what we want. So thank you for listening. This is M, Karen, and Remy, and ask us some shit. Thank you. Good night.